I said yesterday that I was going to go live and go over these questions. So, this is a part of the Harry the Big Dog 100 video challenge. That's right, 30 days, 100 videos. And my aim is to make sure that I've got 100 videos worth of high value. So, today I'm over on my page, and it is the Get in My Kitchen TV. That's facebook.com/GIMKTV. So pop on over there, make sure you like the page. I've got some questions to answer. Matter of fact, I should probably go ahead and share the screen. I think that's what I'm going to do. So let me pop over here now. Let me do a quick screen share because I want to make sure that I answer the right questions. So let me see if I could find this here. Give me a moment. Cue the Jeopardy music. And I know what you should be thinking. Jason, how come you didn't have this already set up before you jumped on? Because I tell you, I was actually not going to do this. I was just going to go ahead and talk, but I thought, why not go ahead and do a screen share? Now, if I could only find the tab, we'll be good to go. But I can't find the tab. So, I think, oh, I know why. Hold on. I know exactly why. I've got to make it official and actually go to, I got to go to I'm sorry, I'm seeing some memes that one of my friends is putting on here because I was late to getting this video out here. Thanks, Robin. So, I'm live now. Okay, hold on. All right, I'm live now. Doing this, I cannot look at these memes. I just can't do that right now. This is a professional production. And I have to remember that. And you have to remember that too, Robin. So here we go. Okay, let me move this out of the way real quick. All right, so like a while ago, won't say how long, I went ahead and I did this video. In this video, I went over.
Hey, y'all. How you doing? This is Jason.
Let me hit stop on this. All right, so there are questions that came up. Robin Clark Jameson asked these questions because I put it out there. I said, hey, what do you want to know on my page? And yes, it was a little while ago, 10 weeks. But I did say I was going to answer these questions, and so now I'm here. I'm answering the questions now. So when she said best cooking utensils, I said, ooh, I love that. Putting it on the list. And then she followed up with, when should you use wood versus metal? Things like that works best. I use plastic and wood mainly now. Oh, and cutting boards. I have two, one for veggies, one for meat. Should you use wood cutting boards, especially for meat? So all of these are excellent questions. And I'm going to say it depends. It depends on quite a few things. So let me take them one by one so I can make sure that I get each one of these questions answered. Because trust me, trust and believe, if I don't answer each one of these questions, I'm going to have problems, man. So I'm going to answer these questions now. Best cooking utensils. The best cooking utensils are really going to be based on your habits, what you cook. I mean, you can really make anything work. I don't like aluminum. Matter of fact, I hate it. I avoid it. I hate it with a passion. Reason being is because aluminum can easily leach aluminum into your food. And, aluminum has been linked to things like Alzheimer's, dementia. I read a report where it talked about how the aluminum, when it dissolves into your food, and if you have a combination of aluminum and fluoridated toothpaste. The fluoride is a byproduct of the aluminum smelting industry. So when aluminum is smelted, aluminum foil and all the other aluminum products are made, then the byproduct is fluoride. Now, I don't know how all of that works. I mean, I read it before. I have a book on it, I'm sure somewhere in a box. And I'm not going to geek out with you on that because that's not really the point of this particular live stream. But I'll tell you what it does according to what it is that I've read. And this is not just the first book that I've read that in or the first report that I've seen that, but the fluoride, apparently, it opens up the mesh. Now, this is not medical advice. This is just what it is that I've read. The blood-brain barrier, the stuff that mesh between the blood and the brain that keeps all of the stuff out so that the brain does not get impacted by all the other stuff that's circulating in our system. Well, with the fluoride, it opens up that mesh and it allows certain things to come in. Now, aluminum is a very small product, right? Molecularly. The atoms are very small. Anyway, it gets through that brain barrier, that mesh, and then it lodges in the brain. And so from what I read, it also talked about how it short circuits the brain. I don't know all of the science behind it, but I tend to think that aluminum getting into the brain is probably not a good idea. So that's why I don't like aluminum products. I know they're lightweight, they're cheap, some of them, and I don't like the idea of that leaching off into the food. I don't really like the idea of any metal leaching off into the food. There's a book that I read years ago. It was called One Sickness, One Disease, One Cure. I think that was the name of it. Dr. Robert Young. Yeah. And so it was an interesting book on the studies that he did. And then he also talked about, in that book, I believe he talked about cooking on vessels that are either like glass or surgical steel, not stainless steel. And so I happened to find, a cooking set, Salad Master. It's surgical steel, so it does not react with the food. The food, you can't taste the flavor of the metal in the food, even when you cook acids in there, like, tomato sauces and things like that. Challenge with like cooking things in cast iron is that if you use anything like acid, citrus, lemon, orange, lime, any of those things, it will pick up a little bit of that metallic flavor in your food. You can't leave the stuff in the skillet or the cast iron cooking vessel unless it's enameled and then put it in your fridge, because then that is eroding that metal and that metal is seeping into your food. So when you eat it, it tastes a little metallic. Now, if you don't have sensitive taste buds, you won't know that, but it does. It tastes a little metallic, and so what ends up happening is that you find that the flavor is just a little off. Okay. Unfortunately, we have so much pollutants in our. Let me check and see how this is. If this is actually recording. Let me make sure. I'm seeing those memes again, Robin. Yeah, I just want to make sure that it's going live on my page. But what ends up happening is that when you see that, or when you taste that, that's actually going into your system as well. So I would avoid all of the cooking utensils that will leach metal. So surgical steel is a really good way to go. Glass, stone, clay, all of those are great. Even wood in some applications, depending on exactly what you're doing. But stone, clay, glass, ceramic, or enameled cast iron, surgical steel. Those are all great options for you to use. I wouldn't even say like Teflon and nonstick, because those things can be coated in things that leach out into your food and then get into your system as well. So you got to be very careful with those. If you heat the nonstick above a certain temperature and you don't have certain things inside of the nonstick, you could actually release certain gases into the atmosphere of your house. So I'd be very cautious about those things. So yeah, glass, stone, surgical steel, enameled cast iron, enameled iron, or um, what do you call it? I just had it, not porcelain, but you know what I mean. Ceramic. Thank you, ceramic. So those are good. All right, so let's go on to the next question. Okay. Oh, you know what? I did not turn this thing on. That's what the problem was. Let me turn this on real quick. I thought that I had shared this, and apparently I didn't. Okay. Now you guys are seeing what I see. Okay, so now let me actually, yeah, okay, there you go. All right, so there's the cooking utensil question. Next one. Wood versus metal. Okay. Robin uses plastic and wood mainly now. All right, so I have a school of thought on that. I think that when you're dealing with um, metal pans, I don't like using metal on metal, okay? Because metal on metal, you can scrape that metal and then you're ending up with metal in your food again. So I prefer wood to metal or silicone spatula to metal. I don't really like plastic because plastic, depending on the heat, you could be leaching plastic into your food or chemicals that are associated or embedded in that plastic into your food. So you've got things like xenoestrogens, you've got, and depending on, again, what the plastic is made out of, you end up leaching that into your food, and you could end up making your food toxic without even realizing it. And over time, it will accumulate in your body. So I try to avoid the plastic when at all possible and stick with silicone. What I like about silicone is that silicone, you can heat it up pretty high without it messing up. Like silicone can take, well, depending on the structure, up to what, 400 to, I think some can even go up to six or so hundred, and you're not really cooking anything at that high heat. So 400, you've got that oven can be at like 450, 475. Your silicone will be able to take that heat and stir your stuff around. Plastic, you get it to a certain heat, you're sticking it into your dish, and it's melting or it's bending, it's warping, and so you ruined your plastic. So I don't like the plastic. I stay away from that. And let's see, what's the next set of questions? Okay, and let me do so that you guys can see me too. Little picture in picture here. There we go. All right. Okay, so I'm getting used to this. All right, so now, and then wood. I like wood. I like bamboo. I like bamboo better than wood, mainly because bamboo is a sustainable. It's sustainable. You cut down bamboo, it's going to grow back. You cut down a tree, uh, it's not going to grow back, or if it does grow back, it's not going to be as hardy. So I would say that you know be a little bit more conscious about that. I prefer bamboo. I can use it, and then when it gets kind of ratty, I can discard it or bury it, and it's going to break down back to the earth. Same thing with wood, it'll break down. But I know that I'm not impacting like forestry and all of that when I use bamboo. Bamboo actually is grown in many regions for that purpose. I know they grow trees, but trees take a longer time to grow. Bamboo, once it starts going and it's established, it's like a weed. Very hard to get rid of. And so then as they're cutting it down, more is growing and it grows thick. It's pretty plentiful. It continues to replenish itself. So I would say, yeah, go with bamboo if at all possible. And if you get enough of it, if you cook a lot, you can get it like wholesale. I run classes and all of that, so I'm able to get things at a better price by getting bulk. And then students, can benefit from that as well. So I like bamboo, I like silicone, and I like wood over plastic and over metal. Certain things you may not be able to avoid the metal. I do like metal tongs because I think that they, depending on the kind that you get, are going to be a lot more resilient. But the same thing, I don't like metal tongs inside of a metal cooking vessel because, again, inside of a metal cooking vessel, let me get rid of this. Okay, yeah. Inside of a metal cooking vessel, you can scratch up your metal. It can really ruin the finish on it, and you can get metal bits in your food. Albeit microscopic, you don't see it, but it's still getting in there, and over time, your body will accumulate it if you don't do something to leach that out of your system. It could be very hard on the kidneys, very hard on the system, very hard on metabolic processes and all that, because the body is not really designed to have metal just roaming around in it. Okay, hope that answers that question. Let's see what else. What other questions do we have here? All right. Oh, and okay, so now cutting boards. Again, cutting boards. I love bamboo cutting boards. I do love wood cutting boards. And depending on the wood, wood actually has certain natural antimicrobial, antibacterial properties. And so, having a wood cutting board, and folks have had that for decades and not had problems with it, so long as you treat it properly. You want to make sure that you clean it up right and all that. I would not mix meat and vegetable unless those vegetables are going to be cooked. I wouldn't put it on, definitely would not put it on a cutting board that I've cut meat on, okay? Especially poultry. Poultry can be a very nasty animal. It could have salmonella. It could have a lot of different things in there that other meats don't necessarily have. Each meat has like its own thing, but poultry is particularly kind of messy because you could end up with salmonella if it's not properly sanitized. Uh, let's see. So I'm hoping that this information is good, hoping that it's answering your questions and all of that. Let's see. All right. So now, yeah, so cutting boards, I don't like plastic cutting boards. I can't stand them. To me, I don't believe that you can really get them clean. So I can deal with them for like vegetables and stuff. When it comes to meat, I'm not going to cut meat on a plastic cutting board and then believe that it actually gets clean. Because think about it. You're sitting there and you've got your extra sharp knife. If you're and your knife should be extremely sharp, because it's dangerous when it's not. So you're cutting through the meat and it's cutting down into the board, where whatever's on that meat, that blade is driving it down into the board. Not a good look, because now when you go to clean it out, are you actually cleaning in those crevices to get whatever bacteria, whatever that meat had on it that is now growing and festering in those slices on your board? Are you really getting that out? The plastic board does not have, unless you have an antimicrobial board, which will be kind of weird. It'll be kind of weird to have a chemicalized antimicrobial board, because then you're getting that into your food. So I wouldn't want to eat food that came off of an antimicrobial board unless it is a natural antimicrobial board, meaning like a wood. Like if you're cutting things on banana peel has a natural antimicrobial properties to it. So, you got to be careful with that. I don't like plastic anything for cutting meats. All right. I don't do a whole lot of cutting meats anyway. I don't really cook a whole lot of meat at the house. Every now and then, I'll do that. Like if we've got guests and they're like, okay, they want that. Or if some of the members of the house are wanting, some of my famous extra tender oven style sous vide chicken, right? I do an amazing chicken. Yeah, I mean, it's so tender, like you could pull the bones right out of it. It's amazing. Okay. Forgive me, my vegan friends, for that little representation there, but it's amazing. Okay, so now, so you've got that. I would do bamboo cutting boards, wood cutting boards. Um, if you do plastic, I would keep those for fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, things like that, things that don't like have potential salmonella or anthrax or any one of the other bacterias that meats could carry if they're not kept in the optimum uh, you know style or format. Okay, let's see what else we got, Robin. Okay, and sauces. Okay, now Robin, you asked about the sauces, like what are some good sauces? Cream sauces, not tomato-based sauces. All right. Okay, so now cream sauces. Okay, you could do your basic roux and things like that. You can start out with your flour, and you can use different types of flour. It doesn't have to be wheat flour. And I know there's a lot of folks nowadays coming up with wheat gluten and wheat sensitivities and things like that. Well, you can use other flours. You can use like corn flour. You can use quinoa flour. You can use kamut flour, which is a type of wheat. You can also use millet flour. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about creating a roux because you just need the flour, you need the fat, you need the heat, and then you need the time in the pot to stir it around, and then you start to add your liquids as it gets to the brown level, the color brown that you like. Then you start adding your liquids. You can use vegetable, mushroom stock, meat stock, beef, chicken, poultry, whatever. Fish stock if you want to throw a little seafood, flavor in there, and then you kind of you know, jazz it up with some seaweed and different things like that. Each seaweed has different flavors. So if you're looking for a salmon flavor, you may go with a dulse. If you're looking for more of like, I don't know, maybe a swordfish type of flavor, you could mix wakame and a little hijiki and then a cream. And then the cream you can use, like if you're doing vegan, or plant-based, then you can use cashews. Cashews, you grind those up, in a blender, and then you can strain it off, and you use the cashew milk, and then you heat that up slowly with the seaweed, and then the flavor of the seaweed will infuse with the fat of the cashew cream, and then that will transfer that oil. All the fat soluble properties will go through all the fat in the cashew, and then all the water soluble properties, the flavorings will go into the water portion. So then those things combined as it cooks and then thickens up, emulsifies. Now you have a sauce that has a very creamy seafood flavor to it, almost like a clam chowder. It actually makes a really good clamless chowder. I make a good clamless chowder using either cashews. I can use pumpkin seeds. You got to be very careful with pumpkin seeds though, because if you don't watch it and continue to stir it, keep the heat low and slow, you will congeal it and it'll trap all your flavors in there. So you don't want to do that. So pumpkin seeds, you want to soak them first. Even sunflower seeds are great. You can use almonds. Sesame seeds, a little too bitter, but if you balance it out with some sweet, then you can kind of cut through some of that bitterness, but you still have to use it in moderation. You can also use Brazil nuts. So you can use a lot of different kind of nuts and seeds in order to achieve that chowder or cream base. And then you've got to heat it slowly so that it brings that temperature up, and then it begins to gently thicken. And then when it gets to the desired thickness, then you pull it off the heat and you incorporate the other things with it. Like if you're making a chowder, you incorporate all the other stuff, and then you want to make sure that those other things are already cooked. Okay, so you cook them down first, and then you could either incorporate them into the cream sauce or the cream sauce into it. So that's a great way to go about that. Cashews, I've used those in program in order to make a cheddar. It was a smoky cheddar cheese sauce. The kids were blown away. They were like, "Oh my gosh, Mr. Jason, this tastes like cheddar cheese." I was like, "Yeah," but it's the cashews. There was nothing else in there. None of that nutritional yeast garbage. Pardon me for the nutritional yeast fanatics and the nutritional yeast industry. You should be ashamed of yourself, because I was watching listening to a lecture from Dr. Blaylock, and he was talking about the brain scans that he did. Those who were taking in excitotoxins, and nutritional yeast actually is an excitotoxin, according to Dr. Blaylock. He said it was eating holes in the brain. It overstimulates the brain and then causes destruction. So in the autopsies and when he was examining the brains that had these excitotoxins in their system or in their diet, he was finding holes in the brain. I was like, wow. If I could find that lecture again, I will see if I could post it here or post a link to where you can get it. It was very interesting, and it turned me off from nutritional yeast. I haven't done nutritional yeast in like about, I don't know, maybe a good 10, 11 years or so, because I don't want to have holes eaten in my brain thinking that I'm doing something good as a plant-based person, right? And destroying myself in the process. Sea moss, I love that. I love that. And I love to add it to chowders. All right, so what else do we got here? Okay, so okay, I think I've answered them all. So I'm gonna pop on over to now the main area here on Facebook, my page, and I'm gonna see if there are any questions that are happening in the comments right now. If you got questions, now is the time to ask them. Okay, so Robin's asking. Let me see if I can grab this. Okay, so I'm going to come off the page. Okay, here we go. So now I'm going to go over to page here. Copy and paste it here. Give me a moment. It's going to be like a picture-in-picture, y'all. Okay, so now here, Robin's asking, so when you grill, do you use more of the metal or wood? You know, when I grill, I would do metal for the grill. Like if I'm grilling on an actual grill, metal I'm good with. Because the grill can stand up to that. I'm not going to scratch anything. Uh, or silicone. If the wood is strong enough, the problem with wood and bamboo when you're dealing with more liquid type of things and you have to do that scraping is that that will start to fray and then get a little soggy on you, and then before you know it, your wood is all messed up. It's got and the bamboo is it's starting to shred on you. It's not a good look, and then again, stuff gets in there. So then you would either have to scrape it down, dry it out, and sand it down in order to, kind of refresh it. And I don't know that I want to do all of that. So that's when I would default to the metal, using the metal, okay, on the grills. Let's see what else we got. Okay. Oh, I have some silicone. Good, 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 good. Okay, so Robin says she's got some silicone. All right, so is that the only questions you guys have? I mean, if it is, then we're good. But if it isn't, then now's the time to ask. So when you grill, yeah, okay. Let me see if I open this thing up. Okay, I'm gonna have to also
Go over to.
All right. Okay, yeah, that looks like that's it. Okay, so on that note, I think that I have satisfied my obligation to get some content on this page. Thank you, Robin, for keeping your foot in my back. I don't know that whether I thanked you or not, that was going to stop. So I said, let me get this video done now. So, video's done. Any other questions that you all have, please go ahead, put your comments below, your questions below. I would love to answer them. Hopefully I didn't go too overboard with all the information because, it can get a little bit rabbit hole-like. But, as you can tell, I love this. I love food. I love the conversation around food. And I love talking to other chefs and other foodies and talking about things that you can do to make a healthier meal that's tasty, but it doesn't sacrifice your life while you're, partaking of that flavor. And one of the things that I've said for years is I don't like to make pretty poison. So it's not as important to have the things taste good, but I know for some it is. For some, you may be at that stage where it's about the flavor for you right now. So my aim is to make healthy food flavorful so that you don't have to choose between flavor and health. Okay? Do you see the Easter egg? No, I don't see the Easter egg. I don't see it. All right. Okay, so I'm going to stop now because I've got a few more videos to make for my 100 live stream video challenge, the Harry the Big Dog 100 live stream video challenge. All right, so on that note, this is the Jason Hodge. If you want to connect with me, is it down? I think it's down. There you go. Okay, on that side, I guess. Okay, jasonhodge.biz. Reach out to me, DM me, comment below.